So this is the Parvo. It is one of our two metabolic carts that we have. The components to this, the first is that we have our computer that just operates the system. Then when you come lower, we have two different components of the Parvo. The first one being the mixing chamber, which is the black box. The second being the actual Parvo system itself. Right here in the front is the off and on switch, so the power button. Right now it is switched on the on position. Make sure that when you use the system, you turn it on at least an hour to 2 hours before you're going to use it in order to let the system warm up. Next, you walk around to the side and we have our gas calibration tank. And on the back, on the mixing chamber, there's actually a line, it's called the sampling line. And this is what you'll need when you're doing gas calibration. You'll need to remove that. Once you turn on the system, the first thing that you're going to need to do is go to the software that actually runs the Parvo. So you're going to click on where it says True 1, and this screen will pop up. On the screen, there are a couple of different options that you'll have. And in order to calibrate the system, the first one that you'll go to is actually gas calibration. So once you click on gas calibration, this screen will come up. The first thing that you need to do is enter your room data. So what are the environmental factors? You'll actually look at this right here. This is our weather station, and it gives you the inside temperature, the humidity, and the barometric pressure. So you'll first type in your room temperature. You'll then go to your humidity, and then lastly, you'll type in your barometric pressure. And then once you have that, everything is on, you'll hit OK. You won't have to change anything else. The room temperature and standard gas are already set, so nothing else would need to be changed on the screen. Once you hit OK, the system is going to then tell you turn on the gas calibration counterclockwise to 90 degrees. So you'll come to your tank and you'll turn the switch 90 degrees. Once you do that, you'll hit OK. You want to make sure that the gas is set to 3 psi. Normally it should be set to 3 psi and you do not have to move or adjust it. And make sure it never goes above 5 psi. So once you turn it counterclockwise to 3 psi, you'll hit OK, and then it will calibrate. It will take about 10 to 11 seconds to calibrate, so if it's taking a while, it is okay, it is still working. Okay, so once it is off, then you're going to turn off the gas cal and hit OK. Two things to note. One thing to note is before you even start the gas cal, make sure that you take off the sampling line on the back of the mixing chamber as we discussed earlier. And then also too, once you do the gas cal, you want to make sure that the change is within less than 1%. So anything lower than 1%, you're okay. It can be a positive or a negative value. That doesn't matter. So on here, we have negative 0.2, meaning that we're good to go. And so we can save this calibration and then move on to the next one. When conducting the Parvo, you're going to need to use a mask. So this is a mask, and to put this together, there are a couple of different components that you'll have. So here we have everything laid out. You'll need one head strap. You'll need the mask itself. There are two different valves, and they're both different colors. One is clear, and one is more of a white color. You'll need this. This is the base for the mask. Then you'll need two valves. They look the exact same. And then this is the calibration piece you'll need, and this is the piece that actually connects to the mask itself. So when you're putting the mask together, first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna grab the base piece, and on this base piece there's actually two different arrows, and so each arrow explains to you where the valve needs to go. And so this valve will go in here, and so one quick check is making sure that the valve goes the same direction that the arrow goes. And then once that's the case, you'll screw in the more white valve to it. Next, on the other side, making sure that this is the valve that goes out. So you'll put it down and this one kind of just sits in there, and then the clear one goes on the outside. Okay. Next is this white valve, and this will screw in here on the side. And that is how you put together the mask. There are two pieces missing, and we'll grab those real quick. I always want to make sure that these holes are covered up by these small black pieces, so that way gas will not escape, and everything that you want to measure will be able to be measured. You should probably cut that part because I could not get it. That's the mask. Next, we're going to do the flow meter calibration. At this step, you should have already done the gas calibration. You should also have already made your mask. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your tube and you're going to plug one end to the mixing chamber right here, and the other end is going to go onto your mask. So you always plug the clear part onto the clear part. Next, you're going to take the calibration piece and you're going to plug that into your 3-liter syringe. This is a 3-liter syringe because it mimics the lungs and breathing, normal breathing patterns. So next you're going to go onto the computer itself and click on the flow meter calibration found right here. So once you do that, this menu will pop up. You'll again check your room data. Right here it is still the same, so we're just going to hit sample baseline. Once you hit that, this screen will come up. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the syringe in order to calibrate the system. First, you have to do one detection flush. And once you do that, it will go from a white color to a yellow color. Next, you need 4 flushes. Good. So once we do that, now we're going to go to what is called the strokes on here. And so the goal is to get all of these blue lines to go away. You do that by hitting the exact breathing pattern that's associated with these lines. So the best way to do this is by practice. And so when you go up, each stroke you'll try to get rid of one of the lines. Each line is associated with a different breathing pattern, so some will be a little bit of a softer breath than the other ones. It is okay if you don't get it within 5 strokes. Sometimes it takes a couple of different times in order for you to get it. And the last one is always very, very slow. So once all the lines go, you'll come back to your calibration screen. It will tell you what are the results of it. The only thing that you really need to pay attention to is the difference. Same as the gas cal, we want to make sure that that difference is within 1 at all times. That just means that this time calibration was 0.7% different than the last time that you calibrated it. Again, the sign doesn't matter. It can be positive or negative. Once you have that and you're calibrated, all you have to do is hit save and you're good to go. Once you've calibrated the system, now it's time to actually test your participant. So you'll have them strapped up with the head strap that we showed earlier. And now you'll come here onto the software and click where it says VO2/metabolic testing. So once you come here, you'll type in the participant's information. The first being their last name, their first name, and then their age. One thing to note is very important to make sure that the sex, weight, and height are correct, because if not, then the relative VO2 measure will actually be messed up and you'll have to go back and calculate that later. Also too, you can check and make sure that you have the device that you're using correctly. Right now it's set to a bike, and then you'll press OK. Once you press OK, it's going to sample again the baseline gases. This screen will pop up and it's waiting for the system to stabilize. You want to make sure that your O2 is around 21% and your CO2 is around 0.6 to 0.9%. Once it is, you'll press OK and this screen will come up. You can set the Parvo to sample every 15 or 30 seconds, just depending on what you need for that particular test. In this case, it's set up to sample every 30 seconds. We do not have a participant actually hooked up to this, so it's not going to pop up or detect. But when you do, these numbers will actually pop up. Once you're finished your test, you'll normally just hit end test. In this case, we're just going to hit cancel. Then if you need to go back and look at your report, you can always press reports and this will all come up and you can look back at the report that you had, so that way you can make sure that the person you need, if you need to look at their data, you can.